After his great sacrifice, which no one had ever done before or since in the world, Akashavani, an invisible voice from nowhere, praised this act and bestowed upon Devavrata the title of Bhishma. From that moment on, he would be identified and glorified as Bhishma in history forever. Dasharaja, marveling at the awe-inspiring response of nature to Bhishma's oath, joyously dispatched his daughter Satyavati alongside Bhishma to the palace. As Shantanu heard of Devavrata's sacrifice, a wave of profound sorrow engulfed him, drowning him in a sea of regret. He despised himself for ever harboring the desire to marry Satyavati, realizing the immense sacrifice his son had made for him. Each thought of his own selfish longing pierced his heart like 1,000 daggers, tormenting him with the weight of his own folly. In the depths of his anguish, Shantanu found himself consumed by a storm of remorse, lamenting the irreversible consequences of his actions. Bhishma and Satyavati arrived at the palace. Shantanu's heart was already heavy with sorrow. Upon seeing his beloved son, he couldn't contain his emotions and rushed to embrace Bhishma tightly. In that moment of profound connection, Shantanu felt the weight of Bhishma's sacrifice crashing down upon him like a mountain of remorse. He understood the magnitude of Bhishma's vow, realizing that his cherished son had willingly renounced the joys of marriage and fatherhood, condemning himself to a solitary existence devoid of familial ties. The depth of Bhishma's sacrifice pierced Shantanu's soul, leaving him overwhelmed with grief and regret for the irreversible consequences of his desires. Despite his sorrow and regret, Shantanu recognized the profound sacrifice Bhishma had made for the sake of his father's happiness. In a gesture of gratitude and appreciation, Shantanu bestowed upon Bhishma an unprecedented boon, the gift of invincibility against death itself. With this divine blessing, Bhishma was granted the power to control the timing of his own demise, ensuring that death would only come to him when he willingly allowed it. Overwhelmed by the magnitude of this extraordinary gift, Bhishma was deeply moved and humbled by his father's gesture. Finally, Shantanu and Satyavati entered into the union of marriage. Their hearts were still tinged with a trace of sadness, for the path to their union had been fraught with sacrifice and compromise. Yet, amidst the bittersweetness of their union, one man radiated pure joy: Dasharaja. His countenance aglow with happiness, Dasharaja envisioned a future where his grandson would ascend to the throne of Hastinapura, a dream that filled his heart with boundless delight. As time flowed by, Shantanu and Satyavati found solace in their love and began to embrace the joys of life. Their happiness knew no bounds when they welcomed their firstborn son, whom they named Chitrangada, into the world. Soon after, another blessing graced their lives as Satyavati gave birth to a second son, whom they lovingly called Vichitravirya. Under the tutelage of Bhishma, both Chitrangada and Vichitravirya honed their education and combat prowess. Chitrangada, displaying exceptional talent, excelled particularly in martial arts and battle strategies, showing a keen interest in combat skills over the study of dharma and scriptures. In contrast, Vichitravirya showed little inclination towards either martial training or scholarly pursuits, lacking interest in both battle skills and the study of Vedas. Shantanu, observing his son's progress under Bhishma's guidance, felt a mix of pride and concern. While he admired Chitrangada's martial prowess, he also worried about his single-minded focus on warfare, hoping he would balance it with wisdom and righteousness. Vichitravirya's lack of interest in both combat and learning troubled Shantanu, as he wished for his sons to embody the virtues of a well-rounded leader. Slowly, Shantanu's health began to weaken, his vitality waning with each passing day. Despite the best efforts of his physicians and the care of his loved ones, the inevitable could not be forestalled. Finally, one day, the great king breathed his last. Leaving behind a legacy of strength, wisdom, and love for his kingdom and family. For his final journey, thousands of people and soldiers gathered to pay their respects and accompany the procession. Bhishma took the reins of the chariot, leading the solemn procession as it wound its way through the city streets. With a heavy heart and a sense of responsibility weighing on his mind, Bhishma guided the chariot to the funeral pyre where his father's body lay. With reverence and sorrow, he performed the sacred rites, ensuring that Shantanu's final journey was carried out with dignity and honor. Years passed, and Chitrangada blossomed into a formidable warrior under Bhishma's tutelage. His prowess with the sword and accuracy with his arrows were unmatched, honed by his fervent dedication to combat training. However, alongside his skills grew an arrogance, a belief that he was peerless in his abilities. As promised, Bhishma orchestrated the coronation of Chitrangada as the prince and future king of Hastinapura. Satyavati was overjoyed to witness her son ascending to the position of prince and the future king of Hastinapura. Dasharaja, who created chaos to witness this pivotal moment, remained as a painting adorning the walls of the palace. One day, the arrogant Chitrangada, consumed by his pride and disregard for others, was on the verge of committing a grave act by intending to kill his sparring partner to assert his dominance. Bhishma, wise and ever watchful, intervened, admonishing Chitrangada for his misguided actions. However, in his arrogance, Chitrangada dismissed Bhishma's counsel, declaring that he was unstoppable and could act as he pleased. In a rash decision fueled by his ego, Chitrangada stormed out of the palace, mounted on his horse, determined to follow his own path. Despite Bhishma's hopes for his return, Chitrangada disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a void of uncertainty and concern. For 3 long years, Bhishma and his soldiers tirelessly searched for Chitrangada, their efforts yielding no success. The kingdom remained in a state of apprehension, mourning the loss of their prince and the uncertainty of his fate. Finally, the dreaded news arrived. Chitrangada had met his demise in a tragic encounter with a Gandharva who shared his name. It was a conflict born out of a petty rivalry, as the Gandharva harbored animosity towards a human bearing his name. Bhishma, weighed down by sorrow and regret, mourned the loss of the kingdom's future ruler, a victim of his own arrogance. Satyavati, though grieving deeply for her son, bore the tragedy with stoic acceptance, recognizing the role Chitrangada's pride had played in his downfall. In the face of adversity, she remained resolute, unwilling to assign blame, but acknowledging the harsh reality of her son's untimely demise. Amidst murmurs of discontent and dissent among the ministers and royal gurus, Bhishma's authoritative decree echoed through the halls of power, compelling them to acquiesce to his decision to crown Vichitravirya as the king of Hastinapura. With his unwavering conviction and commanding presence, he quashed any opposition, leaving no room for debate or alternative options. Reluctantly, the kingdom acquiesced to Bhishma's decision, bowing to his unmatched authority and wisdom, even in the face of uncertainty and doubt. In the shadow of Chitrangada's tragic demise, The burden of the kingdom fell upon the unprepared shoulders of Vichitravirya, a prince devoid of kingly virtues. His days were spent in revelry, drowning in drink and shirking responsibility, lacking the gravitas and leadership befitting a ruler. Yet, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, Bhishma and Satyavati reluctantly turned to him as the next in line to the throne, despite his glaring inadequacies. Queen Satyavati, aware of Vichitravirya's inadequacy to rule, embarked on a quest to find him a suitable bride. She believed that through marriage, his offspring might one day inherit the throne and rule the kingdom more effectively in the future. Despite her efforts, no match seemed ideal. However, news reached her of Kashiraja's announcement of a swayamvara for his 3 daughters, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. Excited by the prospect, Satyavati saw this as an opportunity for Vichitravirya to find a worthy consort. The swayamvara was a grand event where princes and kings from far and wide showcased their prowess, hoping to win the hearts of the princesses. Satyavati and Bhishma, recognizing that Vichitravirya might not succeed in winning the swayamvara amidst fierce competition from numerous kings and princes, they devised an alternate plan.